Welcome back to Jess Saying. If you've ever felt like you're not good enough, like no matter how much you do, it's just never quite enough, you're not alone. And you're definitely not broken. Today I'm joined by Sabrina Trobak, a registered clinical counselor and author of Not Good Enough, Understanding Your Core Beliefs and Anxiety. She's here to help us connect the dots between anxiety and our self-worth and the quiet message we absorbed long before we knew how to name them. If you're tired of second-guessing yourself or spiraling into self-blame, this episode might be the beginning of a new narrative. Let's dive in. Hey friends, I'm here today with Sabrina Trobak, a clinical counselor and author, which I love. Welcome to the show, Sabrina.
Thanks for having me. It's nice to be here.
So your book, it's called Not Good Enough, Understand Your Core Beliefs and Anxiety, right?
That's correct. Yeah,
I love it. So you're from Canada?
I am. I'm in northern British Columbia, Fort St. John.
Oh, cool. I'm
Yeah,
in California. You're 3 hours. No, we're the same, huh?
we're same. Oh, well, I'm so far north that we actually don't change time. So half the year we're Pacific time, half the year we're mountain time
Mountain.
because it's dark here and it's light here. So we don't change time. We just, whatever it is, it is.
I just curious. I just remember that from when we spoke. So, um, okay. So what are the core beliefs? There's three most common core beliefs, right? What are they?
Right. So the general core beliefs are feeling not good enough, not important, and not valued.
Yeah, that's
Or
so true.
or the opposite of that, good enough, important, and valued.
So, how are these formed? Like, how does it start? Like,
Truly, in all honesty, these core beliefs even start before we're even born. If you have parents whose core belief is not good enough, not important, not valued, it's pretty hard for them to teach you anything otherwise.
yeah, I guess that's true,
And
huh?
so, the way that we handle experiences, the way that we're talked to, all those kind of things develop that core belief. It is about the experiences for sure. If we have a lot of trauma, a lot of chaos, and all those kind of things, but it's also about how those experiences are handled. And in a lot of cases, they're just minimized, brushed off. It's not a big deal. Move on, pretend it's not really there. Well, then it just sits with us. No one's saying, "Hey, how are you doing? How is this impacting you? What can I do to help you? What do you need?" And so that core belief, feeling not good enough, not important, not valued, starts to grow and develop. That starts when we're very, very, very young, all the way through.
I mean, I think a lot of times people, when they think about things that have happened to them that are traumatizing, it's things that's happened to them when they were younger, like,
For sure.
and so, I mean, it forms the way you think about things. If dad threw you in the pool and, said, go ahead, try to swim, like my dad did, back in the 70s, you think, maybe I don't want to swim as much, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
I
Yeah,
just was lucky enough that I wanted to swim so damn bad that I was like okay with it eventually because, but
great.
yeah,
Well,
so
and that not valued comes into play there as well, because rather than taking the time and the effort in teaching you how to swim, he just throws you in.
yeah, and
Right?
that's how I
So you
remember
don't
it too.
feel
It was more,
valued as much. Yeah,
yeah, I remember it as like I was just not important, like a sack of potatoes, like as if I was a nothing that he just threw, and
exactly.
that's what it felt like actually.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
All the scars I'm carrying with me. No, I'm just teasing.
Well, and that's where the core belief gets tricky because ultimately we end up growing up, moving out of the home. So they're
Yeah,
not doing it to us anymore. But this has been a pattern of behavior that has happened so much that now we end up doing it to ourselves in our own thought patterns.
yeah.
Beating ourselves up, negative talk, sacrificing for everyone else. All these things. Now we're doing it to us. Good thing about that is you don't need anyone else to change. You can do it on your own. Bad thing about that is no one else can do it. You have to do it on your own. So it comes a bit of a catch 22 for
Kind
sure.
of easier said than done in a way.
Absolutely. I say to them, that to my clients quite often. Easy isn't simple. right? It might be an easy idea, but the actual implementation of it is not simple. It takes a lot of work and effort and confidence. You got to believe in yourself you can handle it. And you've got to believe in yourself you have the right to it. If that core belief is not good enough, not important, not valued, we often don't believe we have the right to a lot of the things that we think we would like to have.
Yeah, I need a skinny body. That's what I want. Just saying.
Even things like that, right? It's looking at, because we often, with things like weight, we just look at, well, you need to eat healthy and exercise. No, there's way more to it, right? So a lot of times we emotionally eat sugars, fats, and starches. Well, sugars, fats, and starches give your body and your brain a boost to serotonin.
Like comfort.
Yeah, serotonin is the chemical that makes you go, "Ah," and relax. So when you're stressed, when you're overwhelmed, when there's a lot of emotion, you eat a couple cookies, it sends that down. But now
They're
a couple
making me hungry.
isn't copying it, so now we need more, right? And so it's understanding why we're doing what we're doing, then we can start to change and figure out differently. But if we don't know why we're doing and we just focus on the behavior, we're missing a lot of opportunities for learning and growing.
Yeah, because anxiety and we're just struggling with so much internally and then externally. There's a lot. Like right now, my dog's barking in the background, and I'm like, "Oh my god, can you hear it?" Like I was freaking. Like, my dogs, they just like to bark at everything. They're French bulldogs, and they can't help themselves. They're like little bread boxes, and all they want to do is bark at people and slobber their water everywhere. Anyways, okay, I'm sorry. I digress. Can I ask you a question about, like, because you're a clinical counselor, right? So how did you get into being a counselor? I mean, was that just like something that when you started when you were younger, or what brought you to wanting to do that?
So I was a teacher by trade. I was a teacher for over 20 years. I was trained as a learning assistant teacher. So I did a lot of work in the regular classroom, but I also taught a lot of students with learning disabilities, attention deficit, focus problems, behavioral issues. And that was often in kind of smaller group settings. And I really liked working in smaller group settings. You get more of a connection, you get a bit deeper, and you get to kind of see things at a bit of a more in depth level. And then the opportunity came about. I was living even north of here in a quite a small community where they were looking for a school counselor. And I thought, well, I'm already kind of, as a learning assistant, I'm the room where when kids are freaking out or having, overwhelmed or poor behavior choices, they were often coming to my room. My classroom was a safe place at lunch for the kids that didn't really fit in. So I thought, well, this is kind of a good opportunity. So I took that opportunity on to be a school counselor. And I was a school counselor for about a year and a half. And then I went to a workshop that was presented by a man named Tony Martins, who talked about, the workshop was on suicide. And he talked about it through the perspective of this core belief of feeling not good enough. At the end of the 3-day workshop, I was just totally inspired. So I talked with him and we went back and forth for about a year, year and a half, and he agreed to teach me his model of therapy. So I quit teaching and moved back home to Fort St. John, which is where I grew up, and started my own private practice here using that model of therapy that I learned from Tony, focusing on challenging and changing that core belief as a way of helping people heal and sort through trauma.
And I mean, obviously, I mean, I hate to ask this because I mean, your stats, I don't, but like, have you seen a lot of results with using that formula and that way of counseling? I mean, as opposed to, I mean, have you tried to encourage other people if it's working? Like, well, I guess you don't need to be a spokesman for their, for that therapy, the type, but I don't know. I'm curious. I mean, I'm just
Yeah,
curious, actually.
again, it's an interesting piece. So definitely, this isn't the model of therapy for all clients. Some people just want to come and figure out how to figure out what's going on with them right now. That's great, but that's not what I do. So I'm really working with people on helping them sort through and understand their past trauma, how that core belief, not good enough, not important, not valued, developed throughout their life, and then what we need to do to challenge and change it. So it is a long-term model of therapy. Most clients are with me year and a half, 2 years, sometimes even longer. but there is an end to it where it's like, okay, you got this. You don't need me anymore. And that core belief has shifted enough that they can continue. But, if I have a client who's, say, 40 years old and they're in counseling for 2 years, that's still only 1/20th of their life. So it's easy to fall back into our old ways of kind of doing things. We have to make a real conscious effort to really focus on keeping in those changes. But if we do that, we can see really significant long term change. And I love that. I love working with clients and seeing the light bulb moments going on and them making connections and their family dynamic getting healthier and stronger because of the changes that they make. But then part of me was also going, I need to, preach this to the choirs. I need everybody to know about this model of therapy. So I expanded my practice and had, a few counselors working with me as well, but it wasn't the same because now I couldn't see as many clients. I was in the management role, not in the counseling role. And so I did that for a while, but I'm in my late 50s now. I was going to say mid, but we're getting close to more late 50s. And I was like, you know what? No, I want to do what I'm passionate about. And so I've gone back to just myself and I just focus on clients. I don't have to worry about managing anyone else. I just do the work directly with the clients, which is where my passion definitely is for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, I felt like I had to write a book about my crazy life so that I could find out why I felt the way I was feeling. And at the end of the book, I learned a lot about myself. I always say, if you want quick therapy, write it all down in a book.
Writing is a major coping strategy for sure. With me, I started my private practice in 2010, and within 6 months, I had a waiting list, and I've had one ever since. And I go through my clients slowly. So sometimes my waiting list is 2 years long, and I hate having to turn people away. So that's why I decided to write the book, was to provide a resource for people who can't access counseling for whatever reason, but give them an opportunity to look at things in a bit deeper way rather than just putting out the fire. Let's figure out why it's burning in the first place.
Yeah, because you don't want it to rekindle, right?
Exactly. Yeah. As long as those embers are there, boom, it's going to start up again.
Can I ask you a question? Okay, so recognizing the voice of "I'm not good enough," that's something that you hear all the time in your head. How does it show up, like in when parent, like in? Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Mm, I'm struggling with a tickle. Um, how does it show up, like in parenting, or in your work, or in your just like your relationships? Because I mean, if that's something that just is everything you think about is, I mean, I don't know. How does it, because I know how it might in my life, but how would it might in others?
Well, I think, for a lot of kids kind of growing up, definitely if they're growing up where there's a lot of yelling, where there's a lot of fighting, where there's a lot of chaos, where there's a lot of volatility, the message underneath there is you're not important enough to even have a calm, safe environment, right? You're
Hmm.
not good enough that you can help create that. Not that a parent ever says that, but for a child to interpret that makes sense. Kids' brains are very egocentric. Me, 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 me. But that's not just about the things they want. That's often the blame as well, right? So they often think it's their fault that they caused all these kind of things. But even little things like mom having to go in and rearrange the dishwasher because you didn't put the dishes in the right place feeds that not good enough. Oh, I've already told you, feeds the not good enough. Not bothering to check homework, not showing up for parent teacher interviews feeds that core belief. So it's all these little things. So if my core belief slowly starts to grow, not good enough, not important, not valued, now I go to class and I have a group of kids who treat me with respect and dignity. And I have a group of kids who need someone to take care of them, who want to kind of pick on somebody, who I need to cater to, not have a voice with. Well, guess which one fits better? So now I'm going to be drawn to that group of kids where there's that back and forth kind of going. We're kind of feeding each other's core beliefs. I'm friends with you today. I'm not friends with you tomorrow. And that develops. So now I'm becoming a teenager. Now I start having a relationship. Well, guess who I'm drawn to? Not the one who treats me with dignity and respect. The one who says, you need to sacrifice for me. You need to take care of me.
Like the bad that's why there's so many people that like the bad boys is because a lot of people are just mistreated when they're young. That's why. Like,
Yeah, that's where it kinda comes from, right?
right,
And even the
right.
bad boys, that's where it comes from the bad boys, right? The bad boys grow up learning, "I need to take care of myself because if no one else is going to, I'm not gonna survive." So they learn, "I'm first, everyone else is second." So now those 2 meet, they make a perfect match. "I'm more important than you are?" Other one says, "Yeah, of course. I need someone to take care of me? Yep, that's my job." They fit. But it doesn't
Yeah,
take very long and they end up resenting each other because one never gets to say anything. They're always sacrificing for the other one. And then the bad boy is the one who's sitting there going, "Well, I always have to make the decisions. You can't even make a decision for anything. I'm always having to take care of you." So what draws them to each other not very long after ends up feeding that resentment because it ultimately has to support that core belief, not good enough, not important, not valued. That core belief drives everything we do. So if it doesn't fit with the core belief, we sabotage it.
yeah. You know what I feel like? If I could put this into perspective, like when I was younger, my mom was always doing for my dad, always doing for his work and helping him out and sacrificed a lot. She didn't get to buy any of the furniture she ever wanted. She always took the hand-me-downs because that's what my dad wanted. When we went camping, he would drive, but then she had to do all the work when we were camping. And when you got 4 kids and you're camping, like, I don't know, she just always did. She sewed hemmed all of our private school skirts. She did all the sewing. She did all the cooking and well, except for when I was in high school, I did all the cooking, but she did a lot for our families and she sacrificed a lot. And as weird as that sounds, and I feel like that I do that in my life. Now I am the one who I do everything in our house. My husband will do all the outside stuff. And I kind of feel like we have roles that we've set into. And I agree that he could do all those things and I'm okay with doing all my stuff. And, but it's kind of a really cool symbiotic kind of a thing that I've worked out. But had I not followed like my mother, I might have been somebody that maybe I would require the man to help cook. Maybe I might have been somebody who said, "You take care of the bills and you take care of this and I'll take care of this, this and this. Let's share." Right. But I've taken on the role of everything and it is a little overwhelming. Like, but
Absolutely.
that's the role that I told my husband, or that's the role that, because 28 years, this is the role that I have made and I am doing it and I continue to do it. And because that is what I sold him on in a way, you know what I mean? Like, he saw this is how I am. Like, and what am I going to change it now? You know? Does that
And
make
if
sense?
you're yeah, and if you're, like you learned from your mom. Your mom taught you how to be a person and how to be in a relationship.
Right.
And so
Yeah,
you
right.
followed in her footsteps. Why did your
Right.
mom do that? Not because she's a horrible person, probably because she followed in her mom's steps.
Right.
And so we just end up often repeating these cycles over and over and over again, and we don't even realize we're doing it. So that's the scary part. If I don't even realize I'm doing it, how am I gonna I'm not gonna change. I'm not gonna do anything different. I don't even know I should. And so we end up just repeating these patterns. That's how our brain works.
You want to
It
know
works
something
on these
crazy?
patterns of behavior over and over and over again.
Something crazy. I used to always say, and I even put this in my book too. One of my bucket lists was just to be a mom and a wife. That's all I didn't want to be a doctor or a fireman or a baker. I didn't want to be any of those things. I wanted to be, because I played Barbies. I did, played house with my friends. I wanted to be a mom and a wife like my mom. My mom had 4 kids and I just wanted to be like that. And funny thing is, I asked my daughter what she wants to be when she grows up. She goes, "A mom and I want to be married." I'm like, what am I doing to her? Like, go be something fun. like, don't let that be your identity, your mom and this, da da da. I mean, I eventually did go back to school and got a master's degree in marketing, but I'm not really utilizing it. I mean, I do have some skills, but I mean, I'm paying a lot for it still, and I'm not really utilizing it. But anyways, what I'm saying is weird is that that's what I always thought I wanted. And now my daughter at 15, that's what she wants too. And so I'm wondering if like I should maybe try to explain she needs to broaden her horizons a little bit. Like,
Worth having those conversations. And that's often what it is when you grow up with that idea of you want to be a wife and a mom, that you're content in your world and what's there. And so when your child's coming in, you're not talking about career paths and different opportunity because it doesn't even cross your mind. But
Right.
you're right. We want her to make a decision. And if she wants to be a mom and a parent, or a mom and a partner, great. But she needs to make that decision because she's looked at all kinds of options and that's what she's chosen, as opposed to not realizing all these things out there. Like for me, grade 11, I took the test that told me what career path to go down:
Ew.
secretary, teacher, nurse. Well,
You
I
want
didn't want to be a nurse and I didn't want to be a secretary, so I became a teacher, which really honestly was what I wanted to be since I was in kindergarten. But there was nothing on there about a forensic science. I would have loved to do forensic science.
Yeah, that does
You
sound
know,
fun.
there's so many opportunities that I didn't even know existed because I
We
didn't have the conversations with my parents because my parents didn't know they were supposed to be having these conversations with me,
I don't
right?
think they do that thing anymore where they take the you take the we did it in high school my junior year or my senior year, I think my senior year. And it's like you get on the at the time it was, DOS computers. It wasn't really it was a word processor or whatever. You had to the answer all these questions and then it does spit out. I was supposed to be Steven Spielberg, someone who did directing or movie producing.
Yeah, yeah. There you go.
And so that's what they even put in my yearbook. Most likely to be Steven Spielberg is what they put under my name. And because I used to run around the school with a video camera, like those big ones,
Oh, yeah.
because I was videotaping my whole entire senior year. I ended up doing a video yearbook for our senior year.
Cool.
And it's about an hour and 45 minutes. It's really long, but we play it at all our reunions and
Yeah,
everybody just is cracking up like, oh my
yeah.
God, like that's crazy. So if you anybody out there that have kids, give them a camera and let them do a video yearbook it's actually one of the most coolest things that you could have. When 30 or 40 years down the road, it's like the coolest thing. Anyway, but I lost track of what we were saying because I talked about myself. Yeah, so yeah, I don't think they have that anymore where they tell the kids take this test and see where maybe your skill set might lie or what it might be available. But then
It's
again,
definitely
it
more in depth now. Like
true,
there's more of the school counselors that help you figure out your career path and your college and all that kind of
I
stuff.
think it
But
pigeonholes you anyways, like into
exactly.
this, like you said, like they don't have, maybe they may not be a radiologist or they might not put that on there for a woman, as something that a woman might be able to do. Who knows? I mean, radiology, my husband, he works in a hospital. He's like, man, we should try to see if we can get Piper to be a radiologist because all they do is sit there. Like they just click the button and like it's really an easy job and you make a lot of money, or if you're reading the scans, not the assistant, but the person that reads the scans, all you do is read them and send them off. And he says it's pretty cake job. Anyways, but I'm just saying, like you said, that like they may not mention certain things, and so the other thing is how do you know what type of jobs are out there? If you're high school, wouldn't know what a radiologist does, or you wouldn't know what a forensic photographer might do, or something. Like all the different things that are out there. How do we get that knowledge to these kids? I mean, it's crazy.
No, I think it's just lots of conversation. I think, growing up, I didn't have internet. I didn't have access to any of that kind of stuff, right? So, you know, there's definitely issues with how close we have access to things on our phone and stuff like that. But they can also be great opportunities for us to learn and explore more that's out there as well. So I think we are doing a lot better at talking about those kind of things. But as parents, we need to be having those conversations with our kids as well, where we're talking about what are you passionate about, right? Like, if I have a client that's trying to figure out what they want to do, we look at, well, what are some jobs you've had in the past? What did you like about them? What didn't you like about them? And we make a list of all those things. And then we look for jobs that fit those kind of things. Maybe it is a radio tech or radiologist. Maybe it's working at a superstore. Maybe it's working in power engineering. Could be anything.
Cast
More
media.
exactly. The more we look and become aware of those kind of things, the more those options are there. But we often kind of live in this little bubble. And so we
Yeah.
want to be constantly looking at what do we do to make this bubble a bit bigger and a bit bigger and a bit bigger and a bit bigger.
It's almost like you have to well, when you're older like me, not when you're younger like my daughter, but I reinvented myself like 4 different times. Like I taught preschool, then I opened my own preschool center, and then I was a photographer, and then got a degree and was in broadcast media. Totally different things. It seems like,
Yeah.
but I never did give up on doing something cool. Like I always thought a cool job, I always wanted a cool job, and I never gave up on that. I kept pursuing it. Um, Let me ask you a question. So, tools to challenge the narrative. Okay, so Sabrina, um, your process for identifying and dismantling these core beliefs, the not good enough, the three that you mentioned, right? What is the process for identifying them? Do you know? I mean, I know you know, but tell us.
So, really, the very first step is awareness. We have to become more aware of how often that is. Often, that core belief started when we were really, really young. So, for a lot of us, it's a thought process that is even unconscious. We're not even aware of how much it actually is happening. And so we have to become more aware of how often we're actually saying these things to ourselves, avoiding things because we're fulfilling that core belief, not good enough, not important, not valued. So just taking, a couple weeks, a month, 6 weeks, and don't really do anything different. Just start to become more aware of how often am I doing saying things to myself in my own head that's ultimately reinforcing and supporting that core belief. Even just becoming aware of it, you're actually starting to challenge that core belief and develop the core belief good enough, important, and valued. And so, oh, I don't feel like going out for dinner with the girls tonight. I just, it's just too much work. Oh, why? Go, have fun. You'll have a great time, right? Or make a conscious decision. No, I'm not going. But just kind of putting it off, putting it off, putting it off feeds that core belief. So we need to be aware of how often we're doing those things and then slowly start challenging ourselves on it. Where,
But that sounds easier said
Mhm.
than done. I mean,
Yeah.
I okay, so here's an example, everybody. My nephew just got married. It's in October right now, so this is taping in October, but it'll be in June when it airs. But my nephew got married last weekend, and I didn't want to go. And it came up to the like 3 days before, and I had 105. I know this is not my fault because my husband works in a hospital. He's a petri dish. He brings everything in. But I got sick and I had 102 fever, and I got really sick. I had bad cough, or just not feeling good. And but I was so relieved that I was sick because I just did not want to go because I'm the heaviest I've ever been. I'm uncomfortable in my own skin. Even though I bought myself some nice clothes, I knew that I'd have something nice to wear, and I had my hair done and everything. So I knew that all of that would look fine, but I'm not comfortable, and I don't like to go anywhere. I barely like to go to the grocery store. I work from my house and I never leave. And so, yeah, that's like an example of like, I just didn't want to go because every time I look in the mirror, my core belief is I'm too big. I'm not pretty enough, or I'm not skinny enough, or whatever it is. But it's hard to challenge that when you're looking straight in the mirror and it's right there. You know what I'm
And
saying?
so a big thing that feeds that core belief not good enough in even that scenario isn't so much that you didn't wanna go, was that you didn't choose not to go. You got sick, so then you didn't have to go. That's very different than just owning it and saying, "No, I'm too big. I don't like who I am right now. I don't wanna be out in public. I'm not going." At least owning that, that's your decision. But waiting for it to happen to you feeds more powerlessness, so more helplessness, right?
Right.
Challenging yourself and saying, "No, I've got a good outfit. I've got my hair done. I'm just gonna go, but I'm only gonna go for an hour. I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna say congratulations to the bride and
I
the
was
groom."
going. I was gonna go. I made everybody. My husband got new pants. Everybody, we're all got everything to go. Or we're going. It's just when I got sick, and the funny thing is, I knew on that Friday that I wasn't gonna go. That's on Saturday, and so then Saturday came around, and both my kids woke up sick. So it's good that we didn't go because we would have gotten everybody ill, and everybody would have been pissed like at us
Right,
for coming.
for
Um,
sure.
but I mean,
Point is, you didn't
I was
have to
relieved.
make that decision, right? When you get
Right.
that's part of getting sick is you don't have, and so many people do that. They just put it off, put it off, put it off, put it off until now it's too late. Well, you don't have to make that decision. It's okay to decide you're going to go or you're not going to go. The more you make that decision for yourself, the more empowered you're going to feel. The more you're having a voice and trusting in yourself, you can have that voice. That's building and developing the core belief good enough, important, and valued.
It shapes the way you interact in public too. Like when I walk into the room, I sometimes want to be the loudest one in the room or the one that's like the funniest one and it's like I'm putting a mask over the top of what I'm really feeling, which is like, don't look at me. But I'm like, I'm inviting them to look at me. It's really weird. It's like I don't want them to look at me, but then I'm like, I try to be the funniest one in the room. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but
Well, look at this piece over here. I'm funny. I've got a good sense of humor, all that kind of stuff. If I'm distracting you over here, you don't have to look at this piece over here.
that's true.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
You're a great counselor.
I mean, that's what we do. That
You're
and so
dissecting
often
me.
these things are unconscious where we're not even aware we're doing it.
Yeah, that's so true. Um, so if how do you replace this self-judgment though? Like, how do you replace it? I mean, I know you said like you have to identify it, but
And and then it's taking your whole life to get to where you are. That's not gonna change overnight. You need to take very small, gradual steps. Well, what I see happening in counseling over and over and over again is if people take too big steps, it's just too much. It's too overwhelming. So we end up going back to the way things were, or even back further than that. So we just need to take really gradual steps. So let's say, for example, you're not really getting out at all. You don't even like to go and get groceries. Okay. So one time a month, you're going to go into the grocery store and get groceries. That's it. All the other times, order groceries, whatever you want. But one time in a month, make a list, choose. I'm going to go
right.
at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday when no one's there. I'm only going to get 5 items and I'm going to make sure they're all down these 2 rows so I don't have to spend too much time there. So now I'm making a conscious effort to challenge it. I get to the grocery store. When I get out, I'm going to go like, oh, that wasn't that bad. I can handle it. Right. And then I'm going to practice that several times. That's how we build confidence is by practicing. Once I
Yeah.
feel more comfortable doing that, then I'm going to expand on it and maybe get a bit more groceries or maybe try going on a Saturday
Go to the mall.
afternoon. Go
Go
to
to
the
the mall
mall,
with all the
right?
teens.
Yeah, but we need to take little steps. And honestly, for some people who I've worked with who don't haven't been to a grocery store, haven't been outside of their home for years, we start by you just go and sit in your car. Don't even turn it on yet. Just go and sit in your car and think about going to the grocery store. And then get out of your car and go back in your house. That's it. And they'll
Yeah.
practice that sometimes 10, 15 times. Then they get in their car, turn it on, shut it off, go back in the house. We take that gradual steps. You drive to the grocery store, drive by the grocery store, don't even go in. Then you go into the parking lot, park, and then you leave. We still haven't even gone in the grocery store. But we're building this pattern of thinking of, I can handle it, I can handle it, I can handle it, I can handle it. So then when they go into the grocery store, they're going to feel much more confident. But people often just, oh, just go to the grocery store. What's the big deal? Well, if you haven't been in a long time, you know what the big deal is. So we need to break it down into tiny, 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 tiny steps. So we believe in ourselves more that we can handle doing these things.
I mean, no, I don't have that. I mean, my son is somebody who doesn't leave the house, but I don't have that anxiety of, I just don't like to do it because I have to do it every week, but I don't like doing is what I'm saying. But I guess understanding anxiety, like it's a survival response, right? Um,
And anxiety is a direct reflection of that core belief.
and the past trauma, right?
Well, that past trauma develops the core belief. The
Right.
symptom anxiety is actually a symptom of that core belief. My core belief is not good enough, not important, not valued. I'm not really going to believe in myself that I can handle things. That's what anxiety is. A lot of people say, anxiety is about the thing. Like, I don't like to go to the grocery store. I have anxiety leaving my home. It's not about that. If it was about that, then every single person would have anxiety leaving their home, but not everyone does. It's about my belief in myself. If I believe I can handle leaving my home, I'm not going to have anxiety. if I believe I can't handle leaving my home, I'm going to have more anxiety. So the more we build that confidence that I can handle these things, the less anxiety I'm going to have. The opposite of anxiety is confidence.
Right.
And
That's like
that's
a
a reflection of that core belief.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
How do you talk to the kids? I mean, I know like you and I are adults, and any adults that are listening are like, yeah, I get that, like totally, that's totally true. But how do you talk to kids with, with their compassion without like criticizing them? I just don't want, I don't want to damage my child. I mean, it's like I feel like I damaged her.
Right. But you know what? Often kind of tippy toeing around makes it worse because then they feel like, oh, mom doesn't think I can handle this. Mom's rescuing and doing everything for me because she doesn't think I can handle it. So,
That's me though. That's me. I mean, I'm a helicopter parent, and I realized that to my kids' detriment. I even did an episode. I called it "Confessions of a Helicopter Parent," and then I brought on somebody who told me, "Shame on you." But I didn't do it. I did it out of love, because my kids have special needs, and so I felt like I had to do everything to protect and help them, and I didn't want them to fall, and I'm
and
like one of
it's
those parents. Like when they're about to fall, I'm like, put a pillow underneath them.
right. Right. Rather than teaching them how to tuck and roll.
Right, right,
Right.
right. Like,
Part of the problem with that is, when a child's a baby, they do need a pillow to fall on because they're not old enough to even hold their head up. So if
right,
they fall, we need to protect them. But then they get older. They don't need us as much. But as parents, we often forget that, okay, they're a bit older now, I need to pull back. They're a bit older, I need to pull back a bit more. They're a bit older, I need to pull back more. We kind of keep catering, 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 thinking that we're helping. I deal with lots of helicopter parents. Not one of them says, well, I do it because I don't care about my child. They all say the opposite. I don't want my child to hurt. My response is, but, but protecting them so they never hurt is hurting them because they're never learning how to deal with things that are going on, right? If we're always swooping in rescuing them, their core belief is, "Ooh, I guess I'm not good enough because mom had to save me from that. Ooh, I guess I'm not good enough. My mom had to save me from that." Rather than, "Hey, my mom's here if I need me, and my mom trusts me that I can handle this and figure it out on my own." Right? And so, I kinda came from the generation where, once you're old enough, is like, "Hey, good luck, you're on your own," which
right,
wasn't good either because then, yeah, people say, you're really confident, independent woman." I'm like, "No. It
right.
may look like that, but
Yeah,
it's coming from survivor
we're
mode."
we yeah, we faked it.
Right,
I
it's
come from
not
the same
confident.
generation, I'm just saying. So I know it's like you had to figure it out by yourself. My mom didn't ask me about my homework. I mean, I had to make sure I got good grades all on my own. I'm like, you know what I mean? Um, what motivated me for good grades was sports because you had to have good grades to do sports. But like what I did to my son, both my kids are this way, but my son has social and emotional issues in school. He has Asperger's, but he's 24 now. But when he was younger, fifth grade, I think, he would leave the classroom a lot and be upset with whatever happened in the classroom. And he wanted to call me, and he would run out of the class without even asking his teacher and go to the office and to call me. And they're like, "Did you ask your teacher if you could leave?" And he'd be like, "No." And so I'm like, probably this is an extension of my terrible parenting. But during his IEP meeting, I just said, I think it's best if he had a phone and that he could step away and call me and it did help. He could call me and I go, just get back to class. That's what I tell him. And he would get back to class and be good the rest of the day. It was only those few times when he felt like he needed to ask me a question. Oh, don't forget about this, mom. Or, um, you know, can you make sure that tomorrow's going to be crazy hat day? I mean, it was just whatever it was. And but I was like, I made sure that they put it in his IEP that he had to have a phone, and it actually did help in my son's situation. But he also was like, he was like, I don't believe you, teacher. I need to ask my mom. And so because I was like the authority of like everything in his life. And he didn't believe what the teacher said. He had to ask me first if that was okay. And I had to get him out of, I got him out of that belief. But it started when he was young. I went to his kindergarten class because I was very good at like cutting things and doing, because I worked in preschool. And we couldn't get him to listen to the teacher because he thought I was in charge because I was there. So she's like, I really love your help. She goes, but I don't think it's good that you come in. So I got kicked out of parenting helping because my son thought I was boss because I was in the room. So it just was something that he felt. I don't know. It's just so weird, but that's my kids, and I kind of screwed him up, I guess. But
That's one of the things that we see happen quite often. If that core belief is not good enough, not important, not valued, I need people out here to tell me it's okay, to tell me I did a good enough job, to tell me how to handle the decision. But then
right,
that's never going to change. I'm not learning how to trust in myself.
right.
Right.
He today has a hard time trusting in himself.
Yeah. It this is a
Mhm,
major issue with every single one of my clients. I've yet to have a client who comes in and says, "I don't trust in myself," or "I can trust in myself to make my own decisions." And the reason for that is because if you trust in yourself, you can make your own decisions, probably don't need a lot of counseling. Right?
right.
And so that's what, one of the biggest part of my jobs, as that core belief shifts, that's really what it's all about is how do I learn to trust on myself? How do I focus on me rather than focusing on all these things out here? So I need someone to tell me I've done a good enough job. I need someone to tell me what to do. I need to have someone that I can gossip about, I can judge, I can blame, then I don't have to take responsibility for myself. So we often look externally for things,
Like
right?
at work,
If I
your
play
boss is
sports,
out
if
there,
I sorry?
like if you're I was gonna say, like, if you're working and your boss tells, and you're, especially young kids that are just working, when they get a first job or they're doing work and they do a good job and their boss is telling them, "Wow, good job," and "I appreciate what you did. That was awesome," or whatever, the tiny little things. Those are little seeds that help you. And so that's why getting a job is very important for young people. I mean, living in your mom's basement, and well, I don't have a basement, but living at home like my son is doing and not working is not helping him. It's hurting him. He needs to have that reinforcement from you did a good job to make him want to work harder and continue on, and all that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
I
Um,
think even kind of like you said, where the boss says you did a great job. A better question is, how do you think you did on this? What do you think you did well? Right? Because even a boss telling me you did a good job, I'm still getting that external praise, which is important. We still need that from time to time, but we end up becoming conditioned to depend on it rather than going, I did a great job. My boss says, you did a good job. I go, yeah, I know I did. I feel it. I feel pride in the work that I am doing.
yeah.
Right? Whereas most of the time, I feel good about it when you tell me I've done a good job, rather than figuring out, did I do a good job? Did I put pride and effort and work into this? What could I have done differently? How could I manage it? But we so often look external for things that we can use to try to help us. But that's that responsibility piece, right? Core belief, not good enough, not important, not valued, don't believe in myself, I have more anxiety. Now responsibility becomes much more of a challenge. So I need to look outward for things rather than trust in myself, have my own voice. I need that validation from others.
Yeah, that sounds right. You're right.
Right.
Um, she's like, I know. Tell me about, okay, let me just ask you a question for anybody out there listening that is, and they totally feel like they are broken, or they just are just too emotional. Like, how do you like dig into them and like help them in the beginning of this helplessness?
Well, so I think one of the words that you said there was emotional. Often, what is feeding a big part of that core belief, that self doubt, that not having a voice, that anxiety is we're full up with emotion because we never learned how to feel it. And it doesn't go away. We just push it down, push it down, push it down, push it down. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, now my capacity to cope with just about anything becomes less and less and less. And so part of what we want to do is get better at being able to recognize our emotions and figure out what they feel like physically in our body. Emotions create a physiological response based on our thoughts. I have a thought that creates a chemical reaction I feel physically in my body. But if I don't know what lonely feels like physically in my body, I'm not going to feel it. And so part of what we have to do is get better at recognizing that. So one of the things I have in my book is a list of emotions. And I tell my clients, print it off, put them all over your house. And then when you start feeling overwhelmed, frustrated, anxious, angry, any of those things, get that list and read through it. What you were feeling, you'll recognize it. It'll jump off the page at you. And
Mhm.
you're only just reading it. It might take 3 seconds, but you're slowly starting to feel that emotion and acknowledge it in a safe way. You read through the page, rare we feel one emotion. If I read through the page, I might see 7, 10, 15 emotions that I'm all feeling, but I read them for a second or two each. At the end of that, I go, huh, okay, yeah, it makes sense why I'm feeling a lot, but I handled it. I feel okay. So I'm more open to do it again. So we need to very slowly get better at feeling our emotions and understanding what's really going on for us. The more we can do that, the more empowered we feel. A lot of people feel like emotion, especially anxiety, is kind of this thing that overcomes us and we have no control over. It's not true. We create it in our own head. The more we understand that, the more empowered we feel. The more we feel like we can handle it, that's coming internally from within me. I don't need anyone out here to tell me to do it. That's building good enough, important, and valued.
Yeah, like my daughter has anxiety. Well, she has cerebral palsy and she's grown up knowing that she's not strong and that she doesn't talk very well. People don't understand her. She's 15 and you still don't understand her. She has to use her phone. But and she kind of I think realizes that that is her like thing. Like people don't understand her. So she tries to slow it down and enunciate or whatever the best she can. But she knows that she's never been very strong, so she can't buckle things and button things and do things. But I think that has caused her to have anxiety where I'm not strong enough or I can't do is her thing. I need help. And that's been her all growing up. And she's 15 and still needs help. Like and a lot of things, but she has anxiety about everything. Whether I leave my door open to my room because the dogs would get in there and eat my Barbies. You know what I mean? Did I don't know, did you pack me a lunch? Did we this or whatever the case may be, she's every single thing that is about her day. It's like a stressor. And I don't know, like, I don't want to medicate her, but I don't know what to do for somebody who's just like has anxiety about everything.
And so
So,
it's looking at those little things and because if she's I need help, I need help, I need help, and you do, she becomes dependent on you. So then she doesn't believe in herself she can handle those things. So then she has more anxiety. So now her brain starts always worrying about these things she can't handle. So it doesn't just stick with not being able to buckle your seatbelt. It now goes to the dog's eating the Barbies or whatever it might be because your brain just keeps expanding on that. Just picking one thing that you can start with. Okay, you're not strong enough to buckle your seatbelt or whatever it is. Let's work on that. We're going to work on building that strength, right?
like, get her
And
a little hand weights or something that she can sit in her room and do or
right.
whatever. Like,
Or, she sits in the car beside, in the seat beside, and she just practices buckling and unbuckling, buckling and unbuckling. She does it 3 times. Okay, let's go in. Next day, she does it 3 more times. Next day, she does it 3 more times. In a week, she can buckle herself up better than what she does. Still might not be perfect, but it's better. And for someone who has a physical disability, there's always going to be some areas that they're not going to be as strong on, but there's always gonna be areas that they can get a little bit stronger on,
right.
and they're like, "Oh, well, okay, well, I could handle that. Maybe I can handle this." But it becomes this frame of thinking where it's almost like this learned helplessness. I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it.
It is.
So no
Yep.
matter what comes up, it's just I can't do it. We gotta shift that thinking where she starts to think, "Maybe I can handle it. Maybe I can handle it. Oh, I can handle it. I got this."
Right. I
That's
can
a
do it.
total shift in brain thinking that takes a lot of time and effort and practice for sure.
Like she'll ask me first and I'm like, "You try." Like I'm like, "You do it. I'm not doing it." Like I just try to act like I don't want to help her. But so that she'll just like, "Ugh, I have no other choice but to do it." You know what I mean? But anyways, I know I talk a lot about my kids on this show. I can't help it. I love them.
Well, and a
Um
good strategy for those kind of things is help her make a plan. So she says, "I can't do this." You say, "Okay, well, so what would be a plan to make it easier for you to do it?" So now
yeah.
she has to think through, well, you know what? Maybe if I moved over a few more inches, I'd have more room to be able to put my seatbelt on. That's a good idea. Let's try it. So she tries it. No, it didn't work. Okay, well, it was a good idea. What else could you do? Right. So,
Right.
how do you want to handle this? Right. If we look at anxiety's lack of confidence, not believing in yourself, you can handle something. If you have a plan in place on how you're going to handle something, you're going to feel much more confident in doing it. And so helping her build a plan, how do you handle this? How could you do it? One little tiny piece at a time in 6 months can make a world of difference.
For sure. I think that I mean, she does get counseling at school, but I think she might just need therapy to help her understand that like she can, and then just
Totally.
to try. Even if it's like physical therapy where, she's doing because my husband's a physical therapist. The only thing is in our town we only have like one pediatric physical therapy, and that's my husband's company, but they don't have any room like for Piper. They just I'm like, I don't have anybody in town. My husband can do it though. That's the whole thing. And I do have a gym in my garage, so I don't know what I'm complaining about. Did I not hit on let's hit some points of your book that you maybe want to get across to the audience. Do you have anything that you want to convey about the book? Do you have the books we can see it?
That's it right there, actually.
Oh, right
Yeah.
behind you. It's
This is
beautiful,
the
by
book
the
right
way.
there.
Is that the brain? It's beautiful though.
It is. There's a brain inside of it, and the
Yeah.
colors kind of the anxiety exploding, but I made it a pretty color.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's an outline of the brain for sure. And so one of the challenges of writing the book is as a learning assistant teacher, I know that people who have high anxiety struggle with reading. So how do you write a book for people who have anxiety who don't like to read?
Like bigger font?
Yeah, exactly. So I use bigger font. I do a lot of chunking. So it's broken into very small sections. There's lots of diagrams, lots of charts, lots of activities. So you read a little bit of information and then you apply that information to your own personal experiences. So I tried to make it very kind of hands on so it's not as overwhelming and you could really read, a half a page and stop for the day. As a learning assistant teacher, I give a student a page to read and, I'd say, "Okay, read that page," and they'd be like, "Oh, I can't, it's too much." But if I covered it up with a piece of paper and said, "Okay, read that paragraph," well, I can do that.
Right.
And so that's part of what I did was chunk. There's very few pages in my book that are 2 full pages of text. It's broken up into small
Can I
chunks.
ask you a question? Um what age group do you think your book would be geared for?
It's definitely more adult, but really anyone 14, 15, or older would be able to read it. The other thing I did was I read it in layman's term or wrote it in layman's term. There's not a whole bunch of big psychology words. There's no more than 3 or 4 syllables. It's written at about a grade 6, 7 reading level. So it's not a hard read. You can easily read through it. So, even a 14, 15-year-old, if even younger, if they want to figure it out and understand what's going on, this might
Right.
be a good resource. I've had kids as young as 10 or 12 read it, but they were looking for the answers, right? So we're able to
The
get
other thing
the
is, too, people out there, if you are in therapy or your kid's in therapy, this book would be a good Christmas present to your therapist. Just saying.
it does
Just.
have a lot of really interesting information that, yeah, other counselors and therapists find informative as well.
And where can we find your book?
So it's on Amazon.
Okay. Amazon. You have a website or a landing page that people can go to?
I do. My website is trobakholistic.org. On my website is links to all my social media, a link to buy the book through Amazon. I also have a page on there that is all of the podcast interviews that I've done. And I also have a blog section there, which is, again, just short 2 to 4 minute reads about various topics of information as well.
Maybe I'll be on there.
Will
Um,
be in June.
also, everybody out there listening, if you can go to my website, it's jesssaying.net, N-E-T. If you go to podcast and you scroll down to this episode and you click onto Sabrina's name, Trobak, Trobak, and you click on her name, it'll take you directly to her website. And that way it'll drive traffic in that direction. If you don't feel comfortable searching for her, you can always come to my website, jesssaying.net, go down to podcast, click Sabrina's name, and I'll take you right there. And that is going to do it for today. I just want to say thank you so much, Sabrina, for coming on, and I really got a lot from our conversation, and I'm
Good.
hoping that other people did too, because you break it down. I mean, there's reasons why we're stuffing our face, or there's reasons why I'm not going out to the gym in my garage and working out. I don't know what I mean. I always say it's my arthritis, but I mean, it's got to be worse, something else. Like,
Everything we do for a reason. And once we understand why, we can have much more empowerment in it for sure.
yeah, definitely. Well, I just appreciate you so much for coming on, and thank you. And
Thanks
it
for
was
having
great.
me. It was nice chatting with you, Jess.
Same here. Okay, everybody out there, just remember, be kind to one another. All right, we only live in this world together. It's one time we live together, and our nation needs a lot of healing. So just remember to be kind. All right, have a great day. Have a great night. Whatever it is for you, have a good one.
Low, talking about the days we used to know. VCR tapes and dial-up tones, raising kids living with achy bones. Leather jackets and big hair days, now it's carpool lines and PTA. Neon dreams turn into schoolyard fights, but our hearts glow in retro nights. We are Gen X, living both worlds. From cassette set tapes to a digital world. Parenting now with a nod to the past. The retro love we know will last. We are Gen X, living both worlds. From cassette tapes to a digital world. Parenting now with a nod to the past. The retro love we know will last. We dance to the beats of the boombox sound. Now bedtime stories echo all around. But deep inside we're the mixtape kings, still fighting life with arcade dreams. Feeding families with a pizza slice, telling tales with a side of advice.